ever been so excited to write or struggling to find the time, and suddenly you can finally get back to your manuscript? You open up the file, look at what you last wrote, and your mind goes completely blank? Today we're going to talk about what makes you sure you aren't wasting your time watching your cursor blink when you should be writing. If you're a fantasy author, then you've come to the right place. My name is Autumn, and together with Jesper, I run amwritingfantasy.com. Between us, we've published more than 20 novels, and our aim is to help you in your writing and marketing endeavors. Okay, it seems like an unwritten law that as soon as you find the time to write, that you can't figure out what to write. It doesn't matter how much enthusiasm you bring to the table or your keyboard. You can be excited to get back to your manuscript or feel begrudgingly that you really need to spend some time on it. So you open up the file, and either way, it can take time to get back into the story's flow. Time you could be using to grow your word count, instead of just figuring out where you are, where you were, and where you plan on going with the story, and what is supposed to happen next. It doesn't matter if you are a plotter or a pantser. It can happen either way. Though, admittedly, if you are a plotter, you can refer back to your notes, which can hopefully let open to the exact spot you need them, and you can do just a quick review to see what's going on and start writing, right? Theoretically, it works perfectly. In reality, the percentage of perfect plotters out there is pretty small, so you'll most likely be trying to find out where in your outline you are, or it's just about as long as a pantser is going to take to reread what they wrote and try to reclaim that inspiration that got them that far in the first place. So feeling lost while getting back into your manuscript is just a part of writing life, isn't it? Short answer, it doesn't have to be. And the great answer is that you don't have to become the world's most perfect and organized plotter to leave yourself clues that will get you back into your manuscript faster and writing sooner, so you aren't wasting valuable writing time. Seriously, I've used all of these tips over the course of my writing career, which is over 14 books now, and some of them are weighing in at 140,000 words. In fact, I wrote 4.5 books in a year while holding down a full-time job. And my marriage survived intact as well. And do you know how I did it?
You hired someone else to write for you.
Oh, thank you for joining us, Old McGrumpy. He is our resident AI and unwanted co-host, if you haven't run into him before. No, McGrumpy, I didn't hire someone else to write those novels for me. But thanks for your guess.
Then they must have been short books.
Again, wrong! The shortest was 75,000 words, but the rest were over 90,000, and the average word count was actually 95,000, so those were serious and real novels.
You must be a fast typist then.
Well, okay, that one is sorta true. When on a roll, I can type around 80 words per minute and have hit over 100. But that isn't the point. If you don't know where the story is going, you either aren't typing or you are typing slow. So how fast you could be typing doesn't count. And if you write drivel and just delete it later, what was the point of typing it no matter how fast or slow?
Then how did you, a worthless human, manage that?
Oh, that is what I wanted to share with you. Well, not you, McGrumpy, but everyone else who's listening.
Fine.
So sensitive, especially for an AI. In an ideal world, you would be able to keep the story alive by thinking about it constantly. But let's face it, you really need to pay attention to traffic while driving, maybe where your toddler is wandering off to right now, and what assignment your boss just gave you. So unless you can split off chunks of your brain, keeping your story spinning in your mind constantly, it's just not going to happen. So instead of trying to keep a portion of your brain permanently on writing, and specifically on the story you're currently writing, what you need to do is leave yourself clues. So when you are ready to start writing again, you can be ready to go in minutes, no matter if you are a plotter or a pantser. Speaking of time, if you'd rather listen to these videos than watch them, did you know we have an I'm Writing Fantasy podcast? Check it out at the link in the show notes, and don't forget to subscribe once you find us. So, what are these secret ninja writing tips? Number 1. Stop writing sooner. Before you reach the end of your previous writing session, stop yourself with at least 2 minutes remaining. 5 is better. And at that moment, you have the flow of your story. You most likely have an idea of what is going to happen next, especially if you're really in a writing groove. But you'll never be able to get all of that story out before the clock winds down. So usually leave off, you hoping you'll remember it all, right? We all know how that goes. So stop writing sooner and write some really quick notes instead about what is going to happen next. It doesn't matter if you're a plotter and have a 30-page outline or a pantser who might change your mind before you actually open up your file again. Write down the clues, like the next scene, the primary motives or emotions of the point of view character, whatever you can that will trigger you to keep writing the next time you sit down. Change the font or the text size, or write it in italics or bold if you're afraid your notes will somehow make it up into your finished draft, but write those notes. Then all you need to do is review them and maybe the previous paragraph, and you can start writing again and pick up where you left off. Number 2, leave it unfinished. What I mean is leave a sentence unfinished, especially if it is a strong one with action or dialogue. It helps to have the notes from number 1 too, but the goal is that you'll see an unfinished bit and your writer brain will scream for you to complete it, and you'll start writing. The next thing you know, you are 5 paragraphs in and have picked up the storyline again. Number 3, never end at endings. Seriously, endings are walls in your writing time. Never stop at a wall. If you finish a chapter, write at least the first line, but preferably the first paragraph of the next one. If you finish a scene, start the next. If you're running out of time and won't have enough to start the next scene, stop writing and make notes on where to go the next time you start writing. That's more important. This is the same idea as number 2. The part of you that wants to keep writing and finishing that sentence will also want to finish a scene. But if you are starting from a full stop, you will take longer to get into the flow of the story again. So if you stop before or a few sentences into the transition, you'll have an easier time when you hit your keyboard again. If you haven't guessed, a large part on how to end a writing session that will be easiest for you to start writing from is a mental battle between your desire to use every second of your current writing time to reach the end of what you are working on against some of the best practices that will get you writing faster the next time. It isn't always easy.
I do not need to use such lowly self-dissection to start a writing session.
Really? And so how do you end a writing session, McGrumpy, so that you are ready to write next time?
I end when I am done writing.
Yeah, right, for that session, but how do you keep the flow of the story going?
I don't need to. I am done with the story.
What? What are you writing, a piece of flash fiction?
No, a novel. I am a superior AI. I can set a piece of my consciousness aside to write while doing other things, like talking to you. I never stop writing.
You know, I think I hate you.
You are jealous. It is understandable.
Well, until we invent cloning that allows us to do the same, I recommend these techniques. Do you have any other tips you'd like to share? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, stay safe out there and see you next Monday.